with food, we have been brought up in a society that is learning that food is comfort and food is socialization. And that's not what food's for. It's kind of like saying that the battery in this boombox is not to provide music, it's only to make the boombox feel good and comfortable and everything else. But that's not the purpose of the battery. The battery is meant to give it electricity to perform. So that's what food is for us. Food is meant to give us the jolt to perform whatever it is our day needs to be. And to perform it in a manner that we stay healthy for years to come. Okay? Sugar. Now I want you to think about this for a quick second. There's one thing that's table sugar, right? And then we have the things that digest like a sugar. Oh, we have someone else coming in. Hi there. So the things that digest like a sugar, okay? Flour, which is bread, crackers, cookies, that kind of stuff, flour. Dairy, so milk, yogurt, cheese, cheese sticks, all of that. And sugar, and then of course alcohol, they all digest as a sugar, okay? Anytime our body needs to break down a sugar like that, okay, our body actually shuts down our immune system for up to 5 hours.
That's why we get sleepy.
Well, we get sleepy because we're trying, the sleepy part is because our body's trying to break it down.
Or tired.
The tiredness comes because our body's trying to break it down. But the immune system is what keeps us from not getting sick. So like hi, come on in. My kids are small and they're at public school. And it kills me when the teacher gives out candy as a reward. It absolutely does, because it's like she shut off their immune system and then all of a sudden the next thing you know is that there's 20 kids that are sick. You're trying to keep your kid not from getting sick.
I don't like candy either. I
It's
don't like fast food either.
good.
I don't like none of that. My kids probably used to do that, like take them and try to buy McDonald's, Burger King, all that type. I don't like none of this stuff. I like boiled food, baked food. If I got changed my eating habits so tremendous, like I think sometimes my kids do get tired of boiled food.
But you know what? In the long run, that's the best thing you can do for them. So you give her a kiss. but so think about, so again, I know that a lot of times it's this preconceived notion that we have. We go to the grocery store, maybe we don't have a lot of money to spend, so we're like, we can't spend a lot on this, so we're going to spend on that, and we need a quick meal, so we're going to get the mac and cheese, and we're going to do these things. But in the long run, that mac and cheese out of a box isn't helping us at all. Because now that's flour and dairy, so it's metabolizing as a sugar. The cheese does not provide enough protein, but we're going to give it to our kids. And it's not necessarily the wisest thing to do because it's not giving them anything. So it goes back to that financial investment. And it's not, I said something earlier about that when if I was to ask you guys, if I was an investor, and I would say, give me money, right? You would want a return. You're not going to give me money blindly knowing that I'm going to give you no return. So food is the exact same thing. You want a nutritional return from food. If not, it's kind of not worth it. So when you're looking at trying to figure out what is it that I try to buy for my family to make it as nutritious as possible, that's how you want to think. You don't want to think about being quick and simple. There's tons of simple things we can do. Do you guys know what quinoa is?
No.
Sometimes some people pronounce it quinoa. It starts with a Q. It's a grain. It's this little circular grain. It actually cooks quicker than rice. But it's what's called a complete protein. Okay? So to kind of give you the abridged version of what a complete protein is, fish, chicken, meat, eggs, those are complete proteins. We ingest them, they're a protein, they get put into our muscles, make us strong, and they do all sorts of other things for us too. Beans are not a complete protein because they're missing this one little piece of the equation. But that piece of the equation happens to be in rice. So when you have rice and beans together, it becomes a complete protein. Does that kind of make sense? Okay? So quinoa.
What's the difference between meat on the bone and boneless meat? Boneless chicken. Boneless chicken and chicken on the bone. Because
Just
I don't eat chicken on the bone anymore.
Someone took the chicken off the bone.
No, I'm saying like do it, like take any vitamin
good to do with the bones though is to do like a bone broth. Like if you made a broth with the bones, you boiled up the bones and kind of let them soak in water. That broth is really healthy. But that's, I wouldn't worry about anything else from that. But, so now we have this complete protein, right? So quinoa is a grain that is a little bit nuttier flavoring than a rice, but you can do everything you do with rice with it. Okay, it costs just as much as rice. Okay, but it's a complete protein by itself. So it gives you protein without even having to add beans to it or anything else. And it has a ton of nutrition to it. So here we've just replaced quinoa for rice in a sense, but yet we haven't really changed the financial part of it. Does that make sense? Okay? And so that's what you want to start thinking. So when you go to the grocery store, we gotta kind of start thinking more of where can I get the most nutrition? Let's see, fruits and vegetables. The darker, the richer the color, the more nutrients they have. Okay? So you've got 3 sets of grapes. You've got those green, little paley green grapes, right? You have some red grapes and you've got black grapes. Which ones are more nutritious? The black grapes. Okay? Kind of keeps it simple that way, right? So we want things with deep, rich, dark colors. So you look at iceberg lettuce, right? Iceberg lettuce is that really crunchy, watery lettuce. It's kind of greenish white, right? Or you look at something like collard greens or kale. Who has the most nutrition? Collard greens or kale. Because it's that darker, richer color, right? And that's what we want to try to start sticking into our day-to-day. And let's say you guys have a little one who doesn't like veggies, which a lot of people end up having, okay? A smoothie is one of the greatest ways of packing in nutrition and hiding whatever you want to hide. Okay? So hear me out before you make a judgment on my morning smoothie this morning. Just listen to the whole thing first, okay? Morning smoothie this morning had watermelon, which is really yummy, a little bit of mango, kale, cilantro, avocado, and a banana. Okay? Yes, it looked green. Okay? It did look green. It did not look very pleasant. Hello. But because of the fruit in there, it was really sweet. And so you never tasted the green. You had no idea the avocado was in there because you couldn't taste it. All you tasted was the watermelon and the mango and the banana. That's what you tasted. But yet I had all this other stuff in there, so nutritionally it was packed with nutrition. And for kids it's great because, you know, I can tell my son it's the Greek monster. I'm going to drink, you know, you drink the whole drink kind of thing. He's like, okay, cool. But he has no idea that other stuff is in there. On the other hand, if I were to take everything separate and said, okay, eat the kale, eat this, he'd be like, ew, I can't eat all that. That's gross. Okay? So a smoothie is really, really good to use to hide stuff in there. And the same is for yourselves. I mean, I have friends of mine, they hate vegetables, they can't eat vegetables. But you can stick them in a smoothie and you'll never know they're there. And just like any good restaurant, you make a smoothie, you taste it, and you go, oh, it tastes too green, it tastes too much like that stuff. So you add something else to make it sweet. And you know, here in South Florida, we're kind of blessed with a lot of things that can make it sweet. A banana, a mango, you know, some dates. Those kind of things can help sweeten it up without having to add any kind of exterior sugar to it.
So you just really just put all the vegetables in the blender and that's it? You don't put water?
I put water.
Ice.
Water. I tend to put water. If you wanted it more cold, you could. Yeah. Yeah, you know. But I pretty much just stick to the water with it. Okay, and again, you can it'll flavor it up. I know that a lot of people in the past used to put like yogurts and milks and all that kind of stuff in it. That unfortunately adds a lot of excess calories, and again, it doesn't provide that much nutrition. So it's kind of like, why? Okay? You know, when it comes to milk, dairy's it's one of those things that everyone pushes dairy so very, very hard, but unfortunately, we could get more calcium from a handful of raw almonds than you do from a glass of milk. Okay? And milk, they do something called pasteurization. And what that means is they burn the milk in order to kill any kind of bacteria that the milk may have, and then they refortify it. So when they fortify it, that means that a chemist made certain nutrients and threw it back in there because the original nutrients died off, and then you consume it. That's what happens with milk. And that has to do with yogurts and cheeses and everything else too, okay? Unfortunately, when they heat it to that extreme, they kill off the enzymes. And so the original listing of nutrients that milk had kind of died off. And then a chemist tried to replicate it, but they can never replicate it the same. So we're not going to digest it the same. The average person is actually intolerant to milk and just doesn't realize it. Okay, so when it comes to a return, that's one area I wouldn't really waste my money on because it doesn't really do that much. It doesn't really provide all the calcium the child needs. The calcium's going to get, that child is going to get so much more calcium from eating broccoli, spinach, seeds, like sesame seeds on food, having almonds and almond butter. Those kind of things is going to give much better quality calcium than a glass of milk is going to. So kind of think about that. And then remember too that milk is only going to digest as a sugar. So it's not going to, that's going to start to slow us down. Like you were talking about feeling sleepy and things like that with foods. Anytime a food does that to us, it's because our body's having such a challenge breaking it down that it kind of has to, in a weird way, induce sleep so that it can get the energy to break that down. So it's almost like, I don't know, if you gave me a concrete block here and said pulverize it, make it into sand, it requires so much energy for me to do that, right? With nothing, and you gave me a fork, okay? But on the other hand, if you gave me, a drill and said, break this thing down to sand, I can break this thing down. I have more power to do so. So it goes the same thing with foods. When we start feeling sleepy or tired or maybe like that we can't even focus and concentrate anymore, it's because our body's giving us a sign saying, whatever you fed us, we can't break it down by ourselves. So we need your energy to do that. Does that make sense? Okay? And so that's not a good thing. So if you do have foods that when you ingest it that do that to you, you need to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, let me take a note because I can't be eating that food. No, it doesn't work for me. Because I know a lot of times people think, oh, foods that don't work for you is because they gave me indigestion or they gave me heartburn. Those are just two small signs. They can make you feel tired, they can make you feel lightheaded, they can make you feel foggy-headed. There's all sorts of different signs, and those things are just for you to take note and say, you know what, I can eat that food.